And we are your hostesses for the evening. So we are excited. The reason why I fumbled a little bit with taking it to the next level is because you're going to hear not only professional speakers, but you're going to get a little bit to do professional speaking for yourselves, as well as career coaching, you name it. You're going to hear from the best of the best. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to Susanna.
We would like to ask you, before we begin, please turn off your cell phones and any other noisemakers you may have. We have a buffet for you at the back table, which I see most of you have. You're welcome to sit at your tables and eat and enjoy the show. Please do not get up until intermission. We will have 2 15-minute intermissions, so that should be enough to keep you comfortable and well taken care of. Now, are you ready to take it to the next level?
Oh, yeah!
We're going to start off the evening with Claudia Brogan. Ever since she first received payment for doing a speech, Claudia has been hooked on professional speaking. You mean I get money for doing this really fun thing? Yes, Claudia, you do. Well, I'm in. A professional speaker for over 20 years, Claudia has continued to polish her skills through continual practice and observation, observing things like what makes audience interaction work as engaging and what makes it disastrous. So, here to tell you a little bit about that, please welcome Claudia Brogan with the ins and outs, the ups and downs of audience engagement and participation.
Oh, yeah!
Well, are we having a good time or what? Good evening. It is so great to be here and see these amazing faces and the talent in this room. What I'd like to do is offer some tantalizing tidbits. What if you could walk away from our few minutes together here with at least one specific tool you can put into action starting tomorrow, and 2 or 3 great reminders of marvelous things that will apply in your speaking life? That's what I intend to do. Tell me at the end if we've gotten there. Because what I want to address tonight is the ins and outs, the ups and downs of audience involvement and participation. Now, in a sense, it's like getting people curious from the very start. If we had a way to toss a ball in the air, literally or figuratively, to move from a still room to sparking ideas going from every corner of this room, what could you try to up your game in your speaking world, in your speaking opportunities? I would like to do a visiting and revisiting of some specific things that you can put into action. I have begun our enterprise with a little participation already. If you will turn in your program books, you're going to see that there are note pages in the back. And these note pages invite you to jot a couple of things that you can put into action right away. These note pages help you think about the next steps for you. What I invite you to do, if you are so inclined, you can find a pen from your neighbor, is to draw a couple of shapes on that very first of the note pages. Now, no one's going to see this. You will not be graded like in art class. This is completely for you in private. But thinking of spring and new opportunities, think about what the butterfly symbolizes for all of us. And I invite you on your note page, if you will, draw the simplest version that you would like to do of a butterfly. The butterfly will have all it really needs to have is a right and left. Otherwise, you do what you want to do in terms of, as you have seen, the way that the wings fall. And just as a hint, this is a butterfly. I should actually label all of my drawings. I'm never quite sure what they meant to be, but here is a butterfly. And this butterfly will have a couple of words at the top of it that will guide us as we go on our way. If there's room still on your page, make room for 6 boxes. These 6 boxes will be your takeaway. At the end of our time, these 6 boxes will symbolize verbalize what it is that we have discussed. Without any further ado, without any further ramifications, let us join in putting our brains together about involvement and participation in the audience. Well, now, true or false? Involving your audience is always a great idea for whatever speech you may be doing. True or false?
False. False.
That was the popcorn response, and I like that there was a variety. All right, now, you have seen, true or false, disasters happen when the audience has been invited to speak. True or false?
True.
Woo, with that exception. We've seen it done so badly. We have seen it done so badly. Let's talk about what the practices could be for first 3 tips for involving your audience, and second, 3 tips for helping them participate. Now, what I'll do is I'll put my 3 tips for involving into our brand new tool that you will be able to use, and that's called window painting. Has anyone ever heard of window painting before? Has anyone ever heard of Bob Pike? My superhero in speaking world. He is my superhero, and I invite you, when you need a professional development today, and you have spare 10 minutes and want to look up a marvelous speaker that will teach you things just in your first couple minutes of researching him, Bob Pike. He calls this tool window painting, and window painting is our own sort of stenographic notes, quick cliff notes of what these techniques are that we're going to cover today. Now, what I'll do is I'll put 6 symbols. The first column will be pros and cons, tips to remember when involving your audience. First, I would suggest get them curious by a quote, a question, making a promise. Get people curious from the very first. Secondly, draw yourself a little light bulb that you want to create an environment as a speaker that helps people feel creatively safe. And I don't mean the kind of embarrassing, put them on the stage, call them names, talk about their children, their childhood issues. I mean the kind of creative where they can consider their own situation. It's not yours, it doesn't matter about you, it's not about you. It's about them. So getting people, helping people, inviting people to feel creatively safe is a technique that will help them feel involved with your words. Even if you haven't had them do anything yet, they're involved, they're listening, they're engaged, they're connecting to you. So the first symbol was get them curious. The second symbol was help them feel creative. The third symbol, in terms of getting your people engaged with you as a speaker, is reduce cheesiness. Whenever possible, I want you to take a pledge and be a cheesy reducer. Take a pledge. So avoid cheesiness. This is the closest I could come. I should again label my drawings. This is a piece of cheese. Our 3 ideas then, as suggestions for engaging with your audience, whether you have them do a single action or say a single word, mentally getting them to engage is this left-hand column. Mentally getting them present with you is this left-hand column. So our first 3 symbols are, first of all, get them curious. Second of all, help them feel creative. Third, avoid cheesiness. Now, perhaps you can already guess what I mean when I say cheesy. One example of cheesy. What I mean by that is anything that feels in your radar like a sales pitch. Anytime a speaker makes me feel like something is being sold to me, I want to run screaming out of the room. I can't get out of there fast enough. Avoid cheesiness. Avoid such a heavy sales pitch that the person feels obligated to pull out their Visa card. Instead, invite people, promise people, and prove to people that you will not embarrass them with cheesy gimmicks. That's our first column, engaging, those 3 symbols. Now in the right-hand column, how do we get them involved? How can we get them to participate? What could you use in your audience that would help your people participate? For one, I would specifically recommend that each of you as speakers forecast for people. that you forecast what's happening next. So for instance, what I mean by that is that I would never call you at the top of your head, ask you a question, and expect you to answer right now with all these witnesses without any preparation. So a good speaker will forecast what's about to happen. Now, part of the reason we do this is in honor of introverts and extroverts in your audience. And there are some of each, I can guarantee you, some of each. Extroverts, they don't need much preparation. You can ask them a question, they've got 3 answers. But the introverts need time to consider and think, which is why I invite folks to jot questions on a piece of paper so they have time to think about it before I would ever call on them, before I would ever ask them to speak out loud. Introverts will love you for this when you forecast what's about to happen. Such as, in about a minute, I'll ask you to share examples in your own speaking experiences. Or, in about a minute, I'll ask you to pair up. When you forecast, people feel safe. And this, as a behavior for you as a speaker, will help people trust you. Second, do not embarrass people. This is an embarrassed person. Refrain, whenever possible, from embarrassing people, putting them on the spot, saying things that you may think are funny, like, I hope nobody has as bad an idea as Keith does, because how embarrassing would that be? That you never embarrass folks. Instead, you honor them and you invite them. And then the final. Use your ears when people raise questions. Great big ears when people raise questions. Bigger ears than your speaking voice. To listen carefully to their questions, or double checking, or clarification. So again, in the right-hand column, for the participation techniques I would invite each of us as speakers to use is, first of all, forecasting. Telling people what's about to happen so you don't surprise them. Second of all, doing whatever possible to resist embarrassing people. Make yourself a promise. This is not the place or the time. Third, using your ears, listen well. So these 6 items then, as a window pane, give you a hint and a reminder of techniques that you and I can use with ups and downs, the audience participation, as we have found with recent research. I polled an audience of professional interested speakers that would be here in this room, who all said that participation can go badly. Here are the 6 techniques you and I can each think about. What's one thing we could do in our own practices? Get them curious, invite them to be creative, avoid cheesiness, forecast for them what's about to happen, resist embarrassment, and use your ears, listen well. So the butterfly is for you. The butterflies think in your own particular experience. What are my 3 favorite lessons that I've seen or I have done that I'm pretty good at with engagement? What are things that I do by calling people by name, by sharing a quote at the start of my speech, by making sure that I look at each person to engage with me? Give yourself a pat on the back, but also collect some of your favorite observations of what people do in the engagement. And then in the participation column, what are your 3 favorite tips that you may do, things you've seen others do, that make for good participation? Because, you see, when people know there are about to be prizes, people, grown-ups, will do just about anything. So, for instance, what I love is offering grand prizes in the middle of peeps, of course, because look what season it is, and a multitasking pen for our very efficient person. Think about ways you can improve your connection with speakers.